To be in the YouTube algorithm was amazing. You didn't have to work that hard because all your old videos would get tons of views. I've had some unique challenges because there was a couple times over the years where sadly people literally broke the law, but the negative video, because of the basis of the way it's created, it's longer form, it's negative, it's clickbaity, it's got people liking it because they're fucking little loser idiots, it's gonna get more traction than a raw playthrough. YouTube changed for the worse, and now this is what the site has become. So, boom, I get partnered with Machinima. Next thing you know, my videos are getting crazy views, right? I've got playthroughs with millions of views on parts, which is insane to think about. Just a guy doing raw playthrough content getting millions of views. These videos are hitting the algorithm and being searched on and found over and over. Anyone for like 5 years who typed in Spider-Man video game, my video was top 3.
And truly what a horrible time it was to be a Spider-Man fan looking for any sort of gameplay on YouTube back then. Imagine trying to find some fun and robust Spider-Man gameplay and your feed gets absolutely tainted by this man.
So my video would immediately get, I was getting tens of thousands of views, residual views on old videos every month. Like, no exaggeration, the views that I get every month now on this channel is equivalent to like the residual views I would get on like 10 videos 15 years ago. Not 15 years ago, probably about 12 years ago. Yeah, that's how popular it was to be in the YouTube algorithm was amazing. You didn't have to work that hard because all your old videos would get tons of views. Not only would you make content that would bring people to your channel every day for new games and content, but the residual views were outstanding, you know?
Wasn't he just talking about the other day, and I believe that I even covered it, that YouTube used to be about hard work. That the people who really put in the time and put their nose to the grindstone were the people that made it to the top and succeeded. But now he's outright telling everybody that once you got your videos into the algorithm and people were watching them en masse, then all of a sudden there was no work to be done because people were just going to continue to watch your videos and make you residual money. I'm not shocked at this information. I am a little surprised that he's willing to say it as openly as he is, though. But that situation is the exact type of circumstance that led him to believe that it was going to be the gravy train forever and that he was never going to have to really put in an honest day's work again in his life. And if you watch any of his old content, you can really see that coming through. The dude thought that he was a rock star. He wanted to go on the convention circuit. He was acting as though at some point he wasn't going to have to even make videos anymore because the residual views were just going to continue to climb and climb and he was going to make money on it like it was royalties. I guess on some level it does technically work that way, but it doesn't pay out nearly as much as DSP was expecting it to.
So for me, I never really changed. I stayed making the same kind of content that I always liked, right? Now, what did change? There were 2 pivotal changes in my history on YouTube. In 2013, I went direct capture and started doing live streaming, which is essentially what everybody else was doing, right? And then in 2017, I changed from being a more on-demand focused content creator to being a live streamer fully with interaction with you guys live on the streams. Those were my 2 key changes in DSP history, where my content completely kind of evolved into something different because I had to change with the times, correct?
You can tell simply by the way that he talks about it that he actually wasn't interested in making those changes for himself at all. He very explicitly says and clarifies that he had to do it. And I 100% believe that if DSP could make the amount of money that he makes now and still be using camcorder footage and not doing direct capture and just uploading the raw videos, he absolutely would. And the fact that so many people on the internet probably feel the exact same way about DSP, that he's lazy and has no interest in making any sort of improvements, is also a detriment to his channel. When you get that kind of reputation, when you get known for doing the things that DSP does, it's only a snowball effect from there.
And so you could say, yes, Phil did change just like everybody else, but I didn't do everything else that was necessary there like everyone else did. So what you'll find is that there's YouTubers who are popular, but you notice they're always playing the viral game. They're always doing the next trend. They're always talking about what's supposed to be hip and cool instead of actually having like a focus. There's no focus just all over the fucking place. But that's fine, right? Because they have a stream with 4,000 people on it every day just blabbing. They can't have a conversation with anyone in their chat because it's going with a bunch of mindless people. And that's okay because that's what they wanted. Like, that's what they wanted out of YouTube. They wanted that level of notoriety, popularity where they were making dough. They're getting that bag, and because they're riding the trends, they're good, right? Oh, they don't have to worry about that shit. I'm not like that.
You're right, DSP, you're not like that because you're not getting your bag. You're not getting any sort of dough. You're also incapable of even gathering 4,000 people in your stream chat. If we're being honest here, your most active chatter is Nightbot himself. But it's completely dishonest to even insinuate that the reason that those people get so many eyes on them, that they get so many viewers, is simply because they're playing the next hottest game. People like Critical don't even stream hot new games. I mean, the dude speedruns terrible horror games. Games that almost nobody's even heard of. But even if that was the case, even if they were playing the hot new games and that's the only reason that people showed up, they're supposed to be entertaining. You're supposed to be entertaining, DSP. So if you're playing a game that people are showing up for and that people actually want to see, you are doing your job correctly.
I'm the guy who, like, when I started, was a mentality that I'm just doing this for fun. I just want to do stuff that I think people will get a laugh out of. And here I am today, you know, in 2024, and it's like, you know, do I still to some extent feel that way? Yes. But I absolutely feel that for me, it's more important to make meaningful content that people enjoy but is not harmful. All right. And I think that's also one of the major things that's happened on YouTube that's just unfortunate, is that harmful content has come to the forefront and become some of the more popular content on YouTube that YouTube, through its algorithms, pushes. Okay.
Is this conversation about harmful content in any way related to the streamers that you were just talking about having more viewers than you, or is it completely unrelated? And that is a genuine question, because we seem to be just moving on, unless of course he's trying to say that these content creators that people actually watch are somehow making harmful content by being entertaining. I wouldn't think that that's the case, but you never know with DSP. That aside, I love that DSP acknowledges that he used to make content to make people laugh. He used to try and do stuff that was funny, but now instead he'd much rather make content that is meaningful and not harmful. Both words that are entirely subjective, therefore completely meaningless when it comes to making content on the internet. But I guess that's the content that DSP does really want to make, completely meaningless content that nobody wants to watch. At least that's what I'm led to believe given his current offerings.
Just to talk about some of these algorithm changes that YouTube has done over the years. Originally, there was no focus on the algorithm. It was just get views. So if you got some people watching your content, you'd hit the algorithm on a trend up, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're in the related videos, you're in the recommended videos, and all your videos would explode. And that's how it was for me back in the day. And then I remember they changed the algorithm to favor longer videos. They wanted videos that were longer than a certain time frame because they felt that if the video was longer, there could be more ads or could get better ads. Like, for example, let's say your video is 10 minutes long. Well, is someone going to watch a 3-minute video ad on a 10-minute video? Probably not. Now, would you watch a 3-minute video ad on a 30-minute video? Well, that's a lot more proportionate. So yeah, you might. So that's what YouTube started doing, is changing the algorithm to favor things that would favor different styles of videos. That didn't favor my content. So that was really the first major change that made it so that my content stopped being pushed to the forefront.
I then have to ask DSP, at what point did you realize this and continue to do nothing about it? At what point did you look at your statistics and see that all of your numbers were down and just outright decide that you weren't going to try and improve your situation, that you weren't going to try and make any more money, and that you were just going to continue to do what you were doing because it used to work? And in the first part of this clip that I already took a look at, he was talking about how he's never been a trend chaser. And what I failed to mention at the time was that one of the reasons that DSP isn't a trend chaser and apparently never has been, even though that's not true, is because when he actually started YouTube, he fell right into the current trend. Video games at the time were absolutely blowing up on YouTube, and the Let's Play was soon to follow. So in order to make his bag back in the day, in order to get white hot popular, as he always loves to say, he didn't actually have to change anything. He was already doing the thing that people were looking for, kind of. And I think that that's why he had such a false sense of security when it came to the early YouTube days, and why he thought that the money would never run out. He just couldn't fathom at the time, and even probably to this day, how lucky he had actually gotten at the time. And because of that, he had mistaken all of the good luck that he had for hard work, as if he'd done something.
Then YouTube wanted to favor videos that were way more higher production value. Things that had the thumbnail, the clickbait title. Because again, they thought that that would bring more people to the table to watch than just, say, a raw gameplay video or a quick game review of something, right?
It's very telling that he immediately equates higher production value to a clickbait title and thumbnail. Completely rid your mind of the idea of higher fidelity when it comes to both an audio and visual experience. Of course, the highest production value comes from a clickbait title and thumbnail. But let's assume for a second that he's telling the truth, and that YouTube, and therefore the algorithm, was intentionally trying to push clickbait titles and thumbnails. Were they necessarily wrong if their reasoning was that by doing that, by pushing those videos, that more people were going to click on videos and therefore watch the ads? Whether DSP likes it or not, and whether I like it or not, clickbait works for a reason. It's because it absolutely draws people in. If you can catch somebody off just the title and the thumbnail, they are going to be more inclined to click on your video and find out what was so intriguing to them. It's honestly astonishing to me that DSP hadn't considered doing new titles and thumbnails to be more intriguing to the general public before very recently. He was completely content just uploading video after video that was going to get no attention simply because it didn't look visually appealing from the outside. And this is just yet another example of DSP not actually having passion for the content that he creates, because the title and the thumbnail are just as big a part of the video as the actual content itself. It's an entire piece, it's an ensemble, it's a set that always goes together no matter where they are. And all three aspects of the video really should have some sort of effort going into it, because you could make the best sandwiches in the world and it wouldn't matter a lick if nobody was willing to come in and actually buy them.
And so that started getting more focus, and that started getting more push on YouTube. Okay, And I could go through all these trends because there's been a ton of these trends that have happened over the years. Watch time and engagement factors and things like that.
Spoiler, he doesn't do all of that. He doesn't go into detail about all of these different trends that he totally didn't hop on. But it probably would have been a more interesting segment if he did, because I don't think that he actually understands any of those trends that he missed out on. Similar to how today he doesn't even understand that he should be making longer form content because that's what the algorithm is pushing. I highly doubt that even now he understands some of the different changes that were made in the past, even if it was years ago. He never bothered to look into it.
For me, I've had some unique challenges because there was a couple times over the years where sadly people literally broke the law to do false takedowns and copyright strikes against my channel. YouTube doesn't get involved in that because their mindset is this: we only get involved if there's a lawsuit, and if there's a lawsuit involved, then we'll get our legal team and everything involved. Otherwise, we don't give a shit about anything. We just, if people are going to hit you with a copyright strike, we're going to likely grant it unless we can find a blatant way to say that it's false. Like, let's say it's complete misinformation that's fed into their system and it doesn't make sense, right? But for the most part, they just grant nonsense. And it's dumb because they just grant false nonsense because they don't want to get involved or be legally liable for something.
And if that's such a problem, DSP, if this is a rampant issue that goes through YouTube, you would think that more people would be dealing with it, that more content creators would be coming out of the woodwork and say, hey, my channel isn't doing nearly as well as it used to because of this situation. And I know that there was plenty of content creators back in the day who were dealing with this, with false DMCA takedowns and all sorts of things because they did gaming content. But I can't recall any of these people sticking around into the modern day and still complaining about it because it happened so long ago, DSP. It's in the past. This is why he's incapable of actually improving his current situation or improving his streams at all. He spends all of the time that he should be using to try and improve to think about how everybody screwed him over in the past and how it's everybody's fault but his own that he's not nearly as popular. He's just an eternal victim that'll never be satisfied.
So there were multiple times during my run here on YouTube where people hit my channel with false copyright strikes. I had to then remove content from my channels to prevent my channel from being shut down. And actually what happens on YouTube, when you remove content from your channel and it results in a dip in views, which it did, I had to remove something like millions of, I think it was like 3 or 4 million views I had to remove from my channel because of the podcast, not the podcast, the pre-streams I used to do. Okay. Each pre-stream every day would get like 3,000-4,000 views. Okay. That was over a decade, was about a decade ago. Yeah. About 2015. So about 9 years ago, my actual pre-streams would get like 3,000-4,000 views a day. Now add that up to like 2 years. So that's millions of views. So what I ended up having to do was delete all those videos. And when I did, guess what? My channel left the algorithm. It literally said, well, DSP Gaming will no longer show up in the algorithm anymore. Because obviously if he's deleting that many views, there's something wrong with the channel. That's how they treated it. It doesn't make sense because I willingly removed the videos to prevent false copyright strikes, but they treated me like I did something wrong.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with DSP on one aspect of this. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It seems really bass-backward. But on the other hand, this is a situation of his own making. Not only was it his choice to use that art that was from a troll that was getting copyright claimed, but it was also his decision to remove all of those pre-streams preemptively. And that action alone, regardless of everything that was going on around it, is the reason that DSP is no longer findable in the algorithm. So if you aren't interested in being like DSP, which I hope is everybody, instead of deleting videos that you no longer want on your channel, just unlist them. It might as well be the same function at the end of the day anyway. There's little to no reason to delete all of those views off your channel if you don't have to. If only somebody had stopped DSP before he deleted all of those videos. Maybe some sort of partnership network that he was with, starts with an M, rhymes with Bashinima. I don't know, their name's escaping me at the moment.
And it irrevocably changed my channel where I can't get my videos in search anymore. For example, Spider-Man Web of Shadows, or Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Used to be a playthrough that whenever you search for Spider-Man video game on YouTube, it would show up in the top 5 videos because it has over 1 million views. In fact, I think it has like 2-3 million views. Now you just can't find the video anymore. It doesn't exist. You have to specifically say DSP Gaming, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, playthrough part 1, then it'll come up. If you search Spider-Man video game, you will not get any of my content ever. It's as if all those videos pre that copyright strike fiasco were just erased from YouTube search, like they don't exist anymore.
I want to make this clear that I'm not just saying this because it's DSP and I don't particularly care for his content, obviously. But it's probably better off that these videos are forgotten, DSP, for your sake and everybody else's. Because I'm sure that in a lot of those playthroughs, you said a lot of things that you're not too proud of and don't want to be brought back into the light. Now, when it comes to benefiting other people, those videos are so old. The production value is nil, there's no jokes to be had, and there's no entertainment to be had. YouTube, by not recommending those videos to people, is actually doing them a favor. Because I promise you, anybody in the modern day that's looking up that game and looking for gameplay doesn't want to put up with what you put out. Standards are higher, and there's so many other content creators that have done that game more recently, and because of that, it looks so much better and more pleasing. I'm not saying that old videos should just never be able to be found again. That's not what I'm advocating for. But when you're not being hyper-specific, when you're being vague, general, generic even, you're probably better off getting recommended newer videos on the same topic, because it's just going to typically be a better experience for you.
Okay, so these are videos that I used to get, no exaggeration, tens of thousands of views a month on because of the algorithm, and they were just erased. So imagine that. Imagine getting probably 500,000 or more views every month just as your legacy videos, and then any new content you made was adding. So that's why at some points I was making millions upon millions of views. There was one point I was making 10 million views a month. I want you to think about that. 10 million views in a month on gameplay videos, right? So with the things that happened, I was just destroyed from being relevant. You can't find DSP anymore. Now, what ended up happening on top of that was YouTube again changed their algorithms. Instead of it being about video length or stuff like that, they started to do with engagement. They started to do with other factors. So think of it this way. In one day, I was releasing 10 gameplay videos of a new game. Okay? Each part's going to get a certain amount of views, a certain amount of likes, a certain amount of comments. A detractor releases one video of making fun of me playing that game in that day, all right? And that video is only one video, but it's longer than any of my gameplay videos. So it has the engagement and that long form factor that YouTube's looking for in the algorithm. And it's basically going to get more views, because think of it. One person is going to watch 5-10 videos, and each video gets a few thousand views because it's a playthrough. But that negative video, people are going to go and watch it and then come back to watch it again, or they're going to click and resume their view, and that counts as a second view. It's a longer video. So the longer hateful montage about me ends up getting more engagement, more views, more clicks, and is more favored by the YouTube algorithm than the raw content that it's based upon.
Apologies for letting him ramble that long. I know it's difficult to listen to DSP for that long without a break, but he outright acknowledges all of the aspects that make detractor content more successful than his. He can identify that they're longer, that they're going to have better viewer retention, that because they're longer and they get more engagement, they're going to be pushed in the algorithm more than his own videos are. But yet he refuses to change his own content. He refuses to leave up the VOD so that the engagement on his streams actually count for something. He refuses to make content that people actually want to come back to again and again. I don't know how true that actually is for detractor content anyway, but it was something that he brought up. I just couldn't imagine being able to identify all of the things that you're doing wrong, all of the ways that you could improve your own situation, and then just outright refusing to do them. And this is why people always say that DSP wants to be the victim, because he knows what the solution is. He knows the things that he would have to change in order to just be better, and yet he doesn't want to do it. He would rather sit here and wallow in his own self-pity. It's just so pathetic, and he really should be embarrassed.
Is it better? Not necessarily. It's for a different audience. Someone who's watching the raw playthrough and likes it versus someone who's there just to make fun of the person doing the raw playthrough and doesn't like the person, right? But the negative video, because of the basis of the way it's created, it's longer form, it's negative, it's clickbaity, it's got people liking it because they're fucking little loser idiots, it's going to get more traction than a raw playthrough. So did I change? Did I change my formula to be in line with what YouTube did? No. Why would I change who I am or what I do or what I love, right? At one point, it was favored. At one point, doing playthroughs and enjoying games and doing raw streams was favored on YouTube. But all the algorithm changes they've made over the years and everything have completely changed that, right?
No. The changing of the algorithm didn't fail all of the other gaming style content creators that were on the platform, DSP. Some of them adapted and changed their content just a little bit so that they could continue to do the thing that they love to do and be relevant in the way that they wanted to be. Others refused to change and continue to put out the content that their audience already knew and loved. You, on the other hand, are an entirely different circumstance. This is another aspect where, unfortunately, again, I have to agree with DSP. He's not like other content creators. He is a unique style individual. Because most other video game YouTubers aren't lolcows like DSP. And because of that, they can continue to see success in the content that they create in the video games that they play. Regardless on whether or not they're chasing trends or the algorithm, they can continue to bring in an audience simply because they're a likable personality that people want to interact with. The fact that that's even still possible completely goes against everything that DSP has just told us.
In addition to that, now look at YouTube, modern YouTube today. So not only are you in competition with this algorithm that's trying to push stupid, clickbaity, drama, longer videos down your throat. But then in addition to that, you got to compete with YouTube shorts, which doesn't even make sense. YouTube shorts in themselves are a farce. because people act like YouTube Shorts will help your channel. They do not. If you are a long-form content creator or someone who makes on-demand style content and videos, YouTube Shorts do not help your channel in any way, shape, or form. You can have a short that goes viral and gets millions of views. It will not bring any views to your channel.
What? If you have a short that gets millions of views, it won't bring any views to your channel. How did he say that sentence and not immediately realize that it didn't make any sense?
Unless your entire channel is YouTube Shorts, because think about how dumb this is. A YouTube Short is a very short-form, digestible video, correct? So people who like that video, what else are they going to be looking for? A 2-hour video documentary? A half-an-hour gameplay clip? A 5-hour archive live stream? No, they're going to be looking for another short-form, digestible video. So when you get a viral, short, and then they go to your channel and they're like, oh, there's basically nothing else here besides other content, it doesn't help your channel at all. No one will click on your other videos.
And would you look at that, yet another nonsense sentence from DSP. Oh, there's nothing here on this channel except for this other content. Bro, what are you actually talking about? Dumb DSP sentences aside, why is he under the assumption that people who watch YouTube Shorts or TikToks or short form content in general are not also interested in some long form content? He acts as though people who watch YouTube Shorts only watch YouTube Shorts and they don't watch anything else on the platform. I don't know anybody who's like that. I don't know anybody who watches long form content or short form content and doesn't watch the other. YouTube Shorts really should be a supplementary thing. It should be just another way that you can make content that should be entertaining to your audience. I would imagine that in between the streams that you do, in between the videos that you make, that every once in a while you're gonna have an idea that isn't quite a full-length video style idea. Short little one-off jokes, creative little ideas that are only gonna last a few seconds, but you want to get out to your audience because they might enjoy it as well. And at least to me, that's where the shorts come in. And if you accept the idea that DSP is completely creatively bankrupt and therefore wouldn't have any of those creative short style ideas to share with his audience, he should still be able to utilize the feature in order to capture some of his more memorable moments from his streams as clips. Because despite everything that he just said about people who watch YouTube Shorts and how they don't check out long form content, inevitably if they watch enough of your clips through YouTube Shorts and are genuinely entertained by them, they just might roll over to the streams in hopes of catching some of those memorable moments live and being able to actually be a part of them. That's one of the biggest appeals of streaming, is that the chat also gets to be a part of that memorable experience. So by providing evidence and showing it off to people who might not otherwise be interested that these experiences do happen and it is a fun time to be had, he would be drawing people into his channel, but he's just too stupid to understand that. He's just too short-sighted and he's not willing to put in the effort and the time that would actually require.
Actually, now people are having the statistics. They're looking at this and they're saying shorts don't help your channel at all. All they do is bring people to watch more shorts. So if all you do is make YouTube Shorts, then shorts will help you. Outside of that, they don't help anything. In addition, YouTube Shorts make almost no revenue whatsoever. You can have a 1 million view short and make like $100. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Why would anyone focus on that? It's because they copied TikTok. YouTube today is so bad. All they do is they chase trends that other sites are already known for to try to make it their own. First, they wanted to be Twitch, so they made YouTube Gaming. Then they just gave up on it. Then they wanted to be TikTok, so they made YouTube Shorts. So what's the next trend? And the problem is every time they do a trend, everyone else suffers.
How is it an issue that YouTube is broadening the amount of ways that you can provide content to your viewers, DSP? How is it a negative that they allow you to stream and make videos and make shorts all on the same platform for the same audience? If anything, that sounds like a major convenience to everybody that would be watching the content, that they don't have to go to multiple platforms to watch different styles of content from the same person. I said this in the last video and I'll say it again, I'm definitely not the YouTube defense force. And I'm definitely willing to admit that not all of these ideas are fleshed out or even as put together as they should be. But I just don't see how in good faith you can argue that allowing you to make content in various forms on the same platform for your audience is a bad thing. Because even if these different formats like YouTube Shorts aren't bringing new people to your channel, it's still a different way that you can provide some sort of entertainment to the audience that you already have. You know, the people that are currently paying your bills. You'd think that DSP would have a vested interest in keeping those people entertained, keeping those people engaged with the content enough to continue to draw money from their own bank account and put it into his. But DSP has made it very clear by this point that he just expects that money to continue to roll in regardless of how entertaining his content actually is, or even how much of it he's putting out. He's providing his audience less and less gameplay content, and even less content in general. More and more often, he's doing streams where he just stares slack-jawed into the camera or staring daggers into the chat. Riveting content that I'm sure people are just begging to pay for.
What about the people on YouTube who've been making a living on this site, for over a decade, and rely on the site to work and rely on a viewer base? Oh, that's all gone now because now we're favoring this instead. So your content brushed under the rug so we can fucking focus on this instead. Like, yeah, but you're an idiot. What they're doing, they just constantly keep shooting themselves in the foot. And instead of focusing on what actually would give their site long-term longevity and support, they chase a new hot trend. It's like the people in charge are idiots who don't understand what made their site popular. What made YouTube popular? Dependability. When you go to YouTube, it works. There's other competitors, they try, they fail because you go there, it won't load, it buffers, it crashes. YouTube always works. YouTube has playlists that actually work. YouTube has functionality that other sites don't have. Higher bandwidth in order to stream at a higher bitrate, higher resolution so you can have higher quality videos. That's what YouTube has always succeeded on. But instead of focusing on the things that people go there for, they try to bring in other fucking things that other people already came up with. It doesn't make sense how they focus on that nonsense. It's like they're all over the place. They have ADD. I'm here. No, just focus on the things that worked and make them better.
So they provided a higher fidelity experience, higher resolutions and quality. So what do you want them to make better about that, DSP? Do you want them to actually start pushing into 4K videos on the platform? Because that just seems like a rant waiting to happen from you. I could practically hear it now. All these people don't even know what resolution their monitors are capable of. I bet if you ask these people, they don't even know who's actually watching things in 4K. In fact, I'm almost certain that we've gotten that rant before when it comes to video games, a medium that actually benefits greatly from having a higher fidelity. Because despite me enjoying the content that I make, I don't think that it's going to be made that much better if you could see all of the pores that make up DSP's snort sacks. But it's completely on brand for DSP's expectation for this big multi-billion-dollar company to continue doing what they were good at and not actually trying anything new. Not trying to expand into any different formats or expand in any way possible. Just continue to do what you were good at and don't think outside the box, stupid. That's how a successful business operates, like DSP Space Gaming.
When they announced YouTube Gaming, people were excited, and then they literally did nothing to make it work. They added no features, they did nothing to make anyone want to come here and stream gameplay. So they fucked it up. Why? Because they were on to the next trend already. They were, oh, gotta work on shorts now, right? So this is the crazy thing is, you look at a channel like mine, right? I've been here since 2010. Over 400 million views. Last time I checked, I actually don't even know how many views this channel has at this point. I know it was like over 400 million at one point. I don't even know where you click to, does anyone even know where you go to find that statistic of like total views? I can't remember. Maybe if you go to analytics and I go to lifetime or something. Lifetime. 474 million views. 474 million views on my channel, DSP Gaming alone. Keep in mind, I have other channels, but that's this channel. And the height of my popularity was late 2011 into early 2012, with some peaks and valleys, but mostly late 2011 into early 2012.
How embarrassing. This dude is sitting over here bragging about how many views he has, 400 million plus views on this channel. And then immediately follows it up by just outright acknowledging the fact that his channel hasn't been on the uptick since 2011 to 2012, which I'm sure all of my big brain style viewers already know is over a decade ago. Yet he's sat here boasting about his empire of dirt that he's built over these past 16 years as if anybody actually gives a shit, as if he's somebody. We get it, you scored 7 touchdowns. We absolutely understand that you think that you could throw the football over the mountain, Uncle Rico. And since we all understand, if you would kindly move on with the programming and talk about the thing that you were actually supposed to be talking about today, you know, the gaming news that we put off, and maybe even after that we could get into some gameplay. Wouldn't that be robust and meaningful to somebody?
Again, why? I just started doing it as a job. I was seen as the ultimate underdog, right? Oh, Phil has shirked corporate America. He's done. He's making it for himself. He's the true rebel who just makes content and isn't afraid to say and do whatever he wants in his videos. You know, that was definitely the height of my popularity.
I have to ask, how does he know that this is the way that people were thinking about him back in the day? How did he know that everybody viewed him as some sort of underdog that was shirking corporate America or whatever he said? It just immediately raises alarm bells in my head whenever he paints himself in this light via other people's words. And I forgot what detractor said it, I just heard it not that long ago, so I apologize for this. But they said that their grandma told them not to trust anybody that paints themselves as the heroes of their own story. And that's exactly what DSP does. He always acts as though he's the one in the right, he's the hero, and everybody wants to see him triumph. He's always the underdog and he's always doing the right thing. And it makes sense to me that anybody that's going out of their way to hype themselves up in that way, to paint themselves in that light when telling their own story, has ill intentions and just shouldn't be trusted.
And then what ended up happening was just an endless downward trend because YouTube just kept changing and pushing guys like me to the side. And again, I don't want this is not just me saying this. I want you to understand that. There's people out there who have been making content as long as me, and in some cases even longer. People who have more subs than me. People who have overall more views than me. They used to bring in, no exaggeration, anywhere from 100,000 to 500,000 viewers a video, and now they struggle to get 10,000 views a video making the exact same kind of content. They haven't changed. It's not because they're hated. They're not me. They're not my situation. They're not hated. They just can't get views anymore because YouTube won't allow their videos to be found.
Is it because YouTube isn't allowing their videos to be found, like they're literally unsearchable, or they're just not making the kind of content that people are interested in watching on YouTube anymore? Because, and we'll take DSP's situation for example, if people wanted to watch long-form Let's Plays in a raw style that DSP does, then they would be all over the place, recommended under every single video. Because regardless of the content, regardless of the title, the thumbnail, the personality, if you're making content that people actually want to watch, and they do in fact watch it, then it's going to be continued to be pushed forward in the algorithm. It's going to be recommended because it's very clearly a video that people want to watch. Not every era lasts forever, and people's interests change over time. I know that I used to watch gameplay videos back in the day. I used to watch full form Let's Plays, and I don't do that anymore because not only do I not have time, but it's just not a style of content that I enjoy. So they can either make the change and try and stay relevant, or they can continue to do what they do and just accept that they're gonna get the numbers that they get. I don't know how this turned into a giant rant from the guy. I don't understand why this was something that we had to do. This segment could have not existed and everybody would have been better off.
And there's nothing you can do about it. You know, it's just, that's life. So when you come to DSP Gaming, if you're a newcomer, because I know we have a few relative newcomers who've been by recently, and they're like, you know, I just don't get it. Everyone hates on you or whatever. When I hang out in your chat, it seems like it's a fun time. We enjoy each other's company. You know, seems like a good place to be, right? But here you are, you have over 200,000 subscribers. You have 400 million views, but in the modern day, you're so small. I wonder what happened. This is exactly what happened. It was a combination of YouTube just keeps changing the rules without really even being transparent about it and telling anyone. And every time they do this, you have to be willing to completely change the style of content you make. So first, I would have had to start making more highly produced clickbaity title, thumbnail content.
And if you needed that translated from Pig Roach into English, he's just saying that he would have to make a title and a thumbnail that actually interested people, and that he would have to have a little bit of a more professional setup, that his audio quality and visual quality would have had to have been to a standard that everybody else was on.
Then I would have had to increase the length of my videos.
He's been playing video games in like 5-hour sessions since the inception of his YouTube channel, so this really shouldn't have been a problem for him to begin with.
Then I would have had to start live streaming as early as humanly possible. Then I would have had to start doing these kind of news stories, drama stories, topics like that to stay pertinent so I could stay in the algorithm. Then I would have had to start doing interactive live streams as soon as they started monetizing them and things like that. Then as soon as YouTube Shorts hit, I would have had to be a shorts creator where I'm pumping out tons of shorts a week. Like, that's the way to stay on the top. And I don't care about any of that shit. I never did.
And that's the exact problem, DSP. You're not interested in actually making content. You're not interested in using the tools that they give you to create something that people want to watch. The only thing that you were ever really interested in was playing video games, and now you're not even interested in that, so you don't have anything to offer. When YouTube started to do live streaming, you should have jumped at the opportunity to be able to interact with your audience in that manner. Even if it wasn't a type of content that you wanted to do all of the time, it was a type of content that you could have done every so often to just engage with your audience on a different style level. When YouTube Shorts came out, you could have taken it as an opportunity to be more creative, to do something a little out of your element. And because it's short form content, it shouldn't take you that long to do it, which would allow you to break the mold that you've put yourself in, to break the monotony of playing these games day in and day out.
Never did I ever go into YouTube saying, this is going to be my job today. This is going to be what I want to do for my life, is I want to actually make content for YouTube as a job. No, not once did I ever say that. I said, you know, I like to hang out with people and share my thoughts on games, you know, have some fun. That's what it's always been. For me, it's been fun with work, or turn that fun into work, right? That's amazing. And that's really why to this day, I absolutely love my job, because everything I do here is fun to me. I'm not here feeling like, oh my God, this is such a boring grind and I hate it. This podcast right now where I get to share my feelings with you about everything is awesome. I love this, and people watch this and enjoy it. And that's cool, right? Imagine a job where you're just working 9 to 5. You're just doing stuff for a paycheck. You don't feel like you're appreciated, right? It's the opposite for me. I actually feel very appreciated with my work. I know people come by, they hang out, they support it because they like me and they like the content, and that feels good to me.
Then why are you always acting as if being a streamer is some strenuous task that you have to put up with every single day in order to make ends meet? Why are you constantly complaining about how you don't have enough money to do this, or you're not getting enough support on this stream? You would think that if you enjoyed what you do so much that you would be a little more appreciative of it, that you would be a little happier on stream, that you would have a little more enjoyment in every single stream that that you're on. But it's the exact opposite, DSP. Can you explain that? Can you explain why you're so miserable on every single stream and constantly talking about the money when this is supposed to be something that's fun that you actually enjoy? And if that is how you treat streaming, if you're not treating it like a job and you're just here to have fun and have an enjoyable time, then you have absolutely no business complaining about support. You have no right to talk about how you don't have any money to do the things that you want to do. If you're going to complain about support, if you're going to complain about not having enough money, then you should treat it like an actual job. You should put in the effort and produce a product that people actually want to pay for.
That's why I still do it. I don't care that I'm only getting a few hundred views on a video. I don't care that I'm only getting overall a couple thousand views on a stream. It doesn't bother me. As long as we're all having a good time and you're finding meaning in it enough to keep coming back and watch and support the content, why would I care?
Yet every time that DSP has a playthrough or even a solo stream that doesn't do well, whether that be through viewer count or through support, he makes sure to mention it, doesn't he? He makes sure to let everybody know that this can't continue happening or he won't be able to do this for a living. But of course, why would he care about the numbers, you guys? He's here to have fun, obviously.
But that's the thing with YouTube is, if you wanted to remain pertinent, you had to care and keep changing. So you literally could never just be the same person on YouTube. You always had to be changing, and that doesn't make sense at all, right? It doesn't. Again, when I came into this, there was no making money on YouTube. From the years of 2008 to 2011, I couldn't even monetize any videos. I made videos for nearly 3 years and didn't make any money on them. I was taking the money that I had from my office job to buy all the games and finance everything that I did on YouTube as a hobby, just because I loved it, not because I saw dollar signs or you know what I mean? And that's why when YouTube became more commercial and became more overproduced and it followed the trend, I was like, this is disgusting to me. That's not what I'm interested in. That's not what I came here for.
Yet you're still on the platform 16 years later, and it's been your primary source of income for over a decade now. Strange how you had no interest in the commercialization of YouTube and that you had no interest in making money doing this, yet that's all you've done since pretty much the beginning. I mean, the first time that he ever even bothered to show his face, he got his AdSense account revoked because he was telling people to outright click on the ads. He made an entirely separate channel called the King of Hate Vlogs where he advertised to high hell because he was incapable of putting ads on his gameplay back in the day. And all of that is before even addressing the fact that he's pretty much always had a PayPal link in his description. He's always been willing to take donations or tips through PayPal. So don't give me that shit that you weren't interested in making money, DSP. From the very beginning, you've always been interested in making money, and that's been your primary driver the entire time.
I'm very lucky that I get to still be someone who makes a living on YouTube, because there's lots of people like me who have had to leave. They didn't have the dedicated fan base, the people who kept coming back and supporting me and watching me no matter where I went and what I did. They sadly, they fell out of prominence or relevancy, and then no one cared about them and they couldn't maintain anymore, you know? Lucky for me, when I was big, I didn't overexpand. I had plans. I was going to rent out an office. I was actually going to hire employees. I was going to have someone who's going to be like my video editor and was going to take the raw playthroughs and edit them together and do things like put all the metadata into the videos as they uploaded. And then I was going to have a filming crew where we were going to be filming skits and things. I'm serious. I had these plans that I was going to start. I was going to have John Rambo and I were going to be doing stuff together and stuff like that in like a studio setting. Like, this was all of my plans that I was actually going to do back in the day. Thank God I didn't.
I agree, DSP. Thank God you didn't, because I don't want to see anything that you and John Rambo were going to do in a studio setting together. The mere idea of that sends shivers down my spine, and I want to forget that god-awful thought that you've now put into my head. And I just want to point out that this is the guy who struggles to play and complete video games in a timely manner. Yet he had these lofty ideas of all of the things that he was going to be able to do, to shoot skits, to have these shows, to hire a team of people in order to work under him. The dude can't even manage his own time. How is he going to manage everybody else's? The whole idea was a disaster waiting to happen, and it's honestly better for everybody that would have been involved that it never came to fruition.
Because likely what would have happened is I would have completely invested in that, and then YouTube would have just changed, and that would have been the end of all of it, right? And how am I going to continue on if I had done that? If I had overexpanded and done stuff like that? Thankfully, I mostly relied all on me. That it was always me doing all the work, and it was all on me, and it was just kind of a small-time operation. Honestly, that's kind of when I saw in 2014, already my channel had been on a decline because of these changes on YouTube. This was before everyone hated me, by the way.
No, it wasn't, DSP, because people have hated you pretty much as long as you've been on the internet. All the way back to the SRK forums in the mid-aughts. You've been a cult of personality the entire time that you've existed on the internet. And I'm kind of tired of him acting as though that isn't the case, as if Evil AJ in 2014 was the catalyst that brought everything crashing down. As if one This Is How You Don't Play was the thing that flipped the switch in everybody's brain and made everybody hate DSP. When you can find detractor videos as early as 2009.
So I saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, well, if I'm going to move out of Connecticut, it's now or never. Because if I don't get out of here now, likely this stuff is going to change hugely, you know? And it did. So thankfully, I did get the hell out of Connecticut when I did, or else I would be stuck there. Now I've happily been living in Washington for 10 years. I have a beautiful family. I'm happy. But that's because I made that very drastic change at that time. I said, move now or I'm stuck. And I did, and things have been better because of it.
And I just want you to think about that for a second. DSP saw the writing on the wall, according to him. He knew that everything was going to go downhill and that he wasn't going to be making that amount of money anymore. That his numbers were going down and that he was going to be in for some hardship. And it was at that moment that he knew that it was now or never and that he had to go into massive debt in order to move across the country for no reason. Because everybody knows that the best idea when you're going to be facing some upcoming hardship is to move across the country and spend a bunch of money to go in debt for a house that you can't afford and definitely don't need. Sorry, calling it a house is a little misleading. It's a middle unit in a condo. So for anybody that's ever felt even remotely bad for DSP in the situation that he's found himself in, just know that he got exactly what he deserves. That he willingly made all of these decisions and knew exactly what he was doing and made them anyway. And don't worry, that bankruptcy made it so that he's not responsible for any of that debt that he went into to move across the country. So it's all forgiven.
But man, you know, again, can you imagine someone who, like, I did a long-term investment in YouTube because I was popular in 2010 or 2012, and I expanded, I did a studio, and there's people who did that. I mean, the Creatures did that, and there's other groups as well. This is what they did, and then what happened? It all crashed because YouTube just keeps deciding they want to change everything for everyone, and now your videos are gone. Like I said, all my old legacy videos used to bring in 500,000 to 1 million views a month just on the legacy videos. They get 0 views. 0. Like right now, for the first time in ages, my Fallout 4 playthrough hit the algorithm, and part 1 has 33,000 views. As a result of that, probably a few hundred people went and checked out my old Fallout playthroughs, and that's it. No one goes and watches my old catalog anymore. Only the most dedicated people who, like, have been along for the ride will go back and watch old stuff. Outside of that, it just sits there stagnant and no one cares, and it's YouTube's fault.
Is it YouTube's fault though, DSP? There's so many other content creators. There's so much content on the platform now. You couldn't possibly watch it all. So why would they continue to recommend these long forgotten videos that nobody's interested in watching anymore? And I don't mean to harp on this, but even if people did actually want to watch the content, it's damn near unwatchable simply because of the quality, because of the time and era it was put out in. But of course, he did nothing wrong and he did everything correct. In fact, YouTube probably owes him a bunch of money at this point because it's all their fault that he got screwed over at the end of the day. Sound good? Sounds good to me. And by the way, categories.
Because YouTube brushed me out of the algorithm and doesn't want my stuff to be found because they want to prominently push forward the memesters, the popular kids, the kids who they think are going to sell more ad space, while all the content that people want to find or used to be able to find can't be found anymore. People used to be able to just go to my channel page and search for a video and find it. It doesn't even exist anymore. They've removed that functionality. You can't find anything on DSP Gaming anymore. It's gone.
And I don't even know what he means by this because you can go to his channel and there is an internal search bar in his channel where you can just go and find all of the videos that you want to find.
So that's just a little history of YouTube and what's going on. And again, this is not just my story. This is a lot of people now who've been around for a long time. And basically they're like, well, I guess it's it. You know, it's been a nice ride, 15, 18, 20 years on YouTube. But if you're someone who, you know, was making a living doing it, likely it's become so much increasingly more difficult recently, especially these last few years. And if you're not going to be popularly following every trend, you will never get any prominence on YouTube anymore. If you're not a toxic drama queen making crap content for a dumb audience who literally doesn't have a brain cell in their fucking head, it's very, very hard to get any kind of prominence on YouTube and get any kind of relevancy. Even for those, and again, this is not me, even for those who are making supposedly really meaningful, informative videos and have been doing this for so long, cannot get any views on their content anymore. It's not their fault. Their content didn't dip in quality. YouTube changed for the worse, and now this is what the site has become.
I really wish that he would have name dropped any of the content creators that he's supposedly advocating for, any of the content creators that are in the circumstance in which he's describing. But of course, he's too much of a coward to do that because he knows the second that he name drops anybody that every single detractor is going to go and fact check him. And even when DSP knows what he's talking about, he doesn't have any goddamn idea what he's talking about and will flub every single fact under the sun. But speaking of people who know what they're talking about, I want to take a look at some of the comments from my last video, the part 1 to this one even. So of course, you know, it's big ups to the 60 skulls. Panko Breadcrumb says, I love how he rails against YouTube for never testing anything. This is the same guy who was pissing and gnashing his teeth at his own fans because he couldn't be bothered to look into setting up Fightcade on his own time for a literal decade. Pathetic. As is always the case with DSP, it's rules for thee and not for me. His expectations for all of these companies are allowed to be sky high. But the second that you ask DSP to even put in a little bit of effort into his streams and the content that he makes, you know, to pay his bills? He flips out and acts as though the request is completely unacceptable. The Wave Man says, such a disparage of a man, so hard-headed, so much so he blames everyone else for his problems and hardships, if you can call it that, to such a degree that just makes no sense. It's nonsense. All the answers to almost any problem are at his and anyone's fingertips, mouse clicks away. And while I'm not quite sure you can use disparage as a noun, I think that it is a verb. I absolutely agree with the sentiment of your comment. All of the answers to all of his problems are just mere seconds away, and anybody who wants to look into the problems that DSP supposedly has, again if you could even call them that, would also immediately be able to find the answer. Like I said in the video, the fact that he's unwilling to make those changes is just pathetic, and like you said, complete nonsense. And Harley Wood says, I've had this thought for a while, where I genuinely think Phil is just living 10 years in the past, or time just moves slower for the guy. It explains how he took so long to adopt direct capture, and why he's constantly bringing up the 2010s like they happened last goddamn week. And while this theory might make some sort of sense and explain some of his more odd behaviors, I do think obviously that it's just more likely that he's hard-headed and stubborn and unwilling to change. But I guess we'll never have a concrete answer. Unless of course DSP starts wearing galaxy print button-up shirts this year. Then we'll definitely have confirmation that he's living in 2014, because anybody wearing galaxy print at this point is living in the past. But speaking of the past, this very video, because it's over. Of course, shout out to anybody who watched this video, especially if you made it this far. Hopefully I'll catch all of you guys in the next video, but until then, make sure that you check out other detractor content and dive deeper into that. Snortex.